first episode. I have our owner, John Clausiopo, here.
Well, owner wannabe, yes. Kelly's the owner, but you don't say that. It's because I don't want anyone holding anything against me. Okay.
We have Chef Vince Bienish.
Yep.
And then we also have our special guest, Chef Craig Kuhns today.
Yay, Craig.
Yay. And I am Emmie Wood. So thanks for joining us today as we dive into some fun kitchen gossip.
So the first thing that's really important is baseball season opens up on Thursday. But what the neat thing about baseball is, and we need to do hot dogs, we need to do something in the cafe, but I don't know if you guys know this, the biggest thing in baseball now is food. And, you know, the idea that stadiums now, the food in these stadiums are getting crazy. And they're crazy, besides just like hot dogs and all this, you know, nachos and all that other kind of stuff.
Nachos in the hat, come on.
Oh, the giant helmet of nachos. I mean, how do you go wrong? But, you know, even getting like very expensive type stuff in there too. And it's funny how you watch what used to be.
Got to match the beer they sell, come on.
Yeah, it used to be, even the beer though, even that's getting to the point where, you know, it's not just cheap ass beer anymore. It's like really expensive stuff. So me and my brother are getting ready to go see the Mets and the Cubs in at Wrigley, April 16th or 17th.
Great man.
Yeah, I know it. So we're gonna go up to Chicago. But it was funny. That was the first thing my brother said. He goes, "Look at what the menu is."
The prices are ridiculous.
Well, in football sense, I know at the new Falcons Stadium, when they switched everything over from their old stadium, their ticket prices like skyrocketed, but they were, for the season ticket holders, they were like, yeah, but we're doing $1 hot dogs. They're trying to lessen the price
Lessen the blow.
The food, and they're doing like free soda drink machines everywhere. It's like, well, that makes up for the $100,000
Lobster Bisque.
tickets.
The Lobster Bisque.
There was a guy, and I can't remember, this might have been like 2 or 3 years ago, but it was an article, but it was like an online article. And it was really neat because he was like, let's look at food to sport to price ratio. And it was kind of neat because he went to a Falcons game, then he went to a baseball game, then he went to a tennis, and then he went to the Masters. And it was funny because he was like, this is what I bought, this is my bill. And then the last one he did was the Masters.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine.
I bought the entire menu for
$8. Yeah, but
it was like the most exclusive sporting event in the United States, and I got the
pimento cheese sandwiches,
and I got 2 Amstels or something for $5 a piece. He's
yeah,
like, I got a hot dog and 2 tall boys and a nacho, and it was like $150. He's like, but I can go to the Masters, and it's like,
and it's like going in there, I've never seen anything like it. The amount of staff they have working, just the lines going through, like you never stop moving. It's just, you know, transaction go, but it doesn't ever feel like you're in a little rat race.
Supposedly they have something written there like, never change the prices. Like the prices have never, like the pimento cheese sandwich has been the same price.
$1.50 or something.
We need to go this year.
But you know, it's kind of funny because that begs the question of, you know, this you know, where's the line? Like, do I want to go see the Mets? I want to have peanuts. I want to have hot dogs. I want to have bowl food. You know, I don't need a 75. Yeah, I don't want to have a $75 triple hamburger with some lobster roll or whatever. I can see when you go to a place, there's, you know, regional foods that you'd want at their stadium, but, you know, shit, at what point, where's this diminishing returns is when food goes into a stadium? Because I think that's something really cool about the Masters. It just keeps it the way it is.
I don't think they want the food to ruin the experience of the sporting event. I think a lot of people get so caught up. They're so worried about spending the $18 a beer and everything. That's what they leave with. They don't leave with the great sporting event. They left with begrudging the price of what they had to pay for refreshments and stuff. Like,
is there something when you go someplace and like just not trust? Like if there was some seafood dish at Citi Field in New York, I mean, are you gonna eat the seafood dish that some guy is whipping up at the concession stand?
No.
You know, that's the same thing with me. I know you can't screw up a hot dog that much. By the way, we need hot dogs this week. If you can do that, It's baseball. Baseball is starting up. We need to have a
It
special.
can't be like hockey. Go to a hockey game, they sell you a baby octopus to throw on the ice. You know, everyone has fun.
Yeah, but you can't eat
No.
the baby. Well, you
There
could.
you go.
Yes.
All right, well, let's start
minutes.
out by Chef Craig. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
What do you want to know?
Just give us your little rundown spiel. I can probably recite it for you, but
That's great. You can do that. I don't know. That's so weird.
Well, first of all, you've been doing it forever and a day.
Yeah,
I mean, when it
it's a
kind
little
of
background.
like when Kelly and we started doing the cook station, we were like, we wanted someone to set up the kitchen and stuff. I mean, you carry this name in Greenville when it comes to food and all that other kind of stuff. I mean, you've opened places. You have a real big, rich history of food here in Greenville. I mean, so start like backwards. Like, where were you before? Oh, do the beginning. Yeah. I mean, were you dropping fries at Outback or something? What were you doing?
Yeah, kind of. So the first job I got I was 15 years old, and I got a dishwashing job at a place called Fats Cafe.
That's right.
Fats. Yeah.
Fats Cafe. And actually, I was in art class. I think I was in like 8th grade. And the guy I was sitting next to, his name was John English. And he goes, I was talking, he's like, "You're doing the culinary program at the Career Center, right?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "So you're looking for a job? You're about to turn 16. You could get a dishwashing job when you're 15. I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I'm about to quit mine. How about you just walk in the door and I'll say, 'Hey, I found my replacement.'" And they said, "Well, can you work a day?" So I worked a day. They gave me an interview, and then they're like, "Come back after work with John a couple of shifts," and then so I got a job and started washing dishes. Started from the very bottom, and that's where I wanted. I wanted to get I knew at that time I wanted every aspect of the kitchen. So I think starting off from the beginning.
That's funny though, but you were at the Career Center doing culinary before you even got your first job in the. So how did you know that culinary was the thing, or was it just like, oh, what the hell, I'll do culinary?
I was in special ed.
Yeah.
And they were like, early on, they determined like you might want to pick something that's more vocational, work with your hands, and wouldn't require so much like, honestly, it was really like the reading and writing, because that's where my big deficiency are in with a lot of other stuff. But I said, "Yeah, I really like cooking." And they said, he said, "Well, we have a Career Center that offers that. Why don't you try it out and give it a try?" Plus, I was from a very food-rich family. My grandmother in California had owned 3 restaurants. My mom had a deli in Alabama for a little time. I had a great uncle I never met, but he had a German restaurant up in the Cumberland Gap. So, it was a long-standing history of like food-rich culture and a very wide, diverse array of it. So it was very interesting to me being offered all that stuff.
Were you hooked? The minute you started working in the kitchen, or did that come like
No.
5 years later, like the washing dishes,
Washing
slinging
dishes
it
is
out?
definitely not how you get hooked. I'll try to keep it as PG as possible, I guess. There was an individual on a Friday who showed up to work a little too inebriated, and they were like, "You can't be here," so they sent him home, and they went back, and then we had 3 dishwashers that night. It was a big Saturday. Those fast cafes would do 3, 4, 5.
Oh, yeah.
At night. Like they were
Calabash chicken.
And they called me Biggs because I was already like, I don't know, I was like 15, already 6 foot. And I would just carry these big stacks of dishes and they're like, "Biggs, guess what? You're not washing dishes tonight." I was like, "I'm not going home, man. Why?" They're like, "No, you're going to make calabash chicken."
Yeah, work the fryer.
And so they strapped me up. They put 3 aprons on me. One of the guys, I won't say his name, but he took me in the walk-in. They gave me a couple of ephedrine pills.
Man, got you hooked on speed.
and 3 Budweisers, and they say you can't come out of you can't start cooking until you come out and you finish these 3 beers and these 2 ephedrine pills. And I got there, and then they showed me how to make calabash chicken, and they were like, "We're going to tell you to start, and don't stop until we tell you to stop." And I remember starting at like 4:45, and I didn't stop dropping and cooking calabash chicken probably until like 9:30 that night. And I had like 3 or 4 aprons on because they were so dirty from all the battering, and I just kept ripping aprons off and putting them on the floor. And I just kept cooking, and that was kind of it.
I just love the fact that from our first podcast, this may become a public service kind of thing. Go work around hot grease with a veteran half looped on a. But it's funny how.
I mean, it's an absolute true story, but I think it also goes to show, like, and I think Vinny can attest to this too, like, we're the last little generational gap of seeing all those things that people hear all these crazy stories about. Like, people are like, did the pans really get thrown and people do all these things? And it was like, yeah, I saw that.
Oh, yeah.
And not only did I see it, but experienced it, firsthand. And, probably by the time, I was probably in my early 30s when that stuff started to kind of go away. Like, all those little Gordon Ramsay and Marco Pierre White moments and stuff, people that have kind of made that behavior famous, or the Anthony Bourdains, like, it was dissipated by that time. But there was still a solid 15 years that was part of my experience of seeing all that stuff. Like, I remember my dad just always asking me tons of questions about restaurants. I told him, I said, go pick up the Anthony Bourdain book and read it. And I think that's going to answer most of your questions that you don't want your son to tell you.
It's so funny, though. Trades were that way. Before I went to work for Kelly, all I did was commercial industrial construction. And exactly when you said that, I knew exactly what you're talking about, because I feel like I was the last generation of the dude that I'll never forget. I was getting dragged across a Publix parking lot. We were laying out light poles, and the surveyor's chain is 33 feet 3 inches, and you got to hold that thing. Guy was dragging me around this asphalt parking lot in Georgia. And I remember going to get water, and he was like, "Swallow your spit, son. There was no stop. There was no mercy. He's like, and then they just treated you like that stuff, and you didn't go home and you just took it, and you just went on.
It's I think it was that the old saying, "Steel makes steel," kind of.
Yeah.
Thing. I think that was kind of the proving point. Worked there for a while, and then a buddy of mine, and that was probably 2 years, 3 years maybe, and then a buddy of mine was working at Applebee's when there was an Applebee's down on Augusta Road where the Panera Bread is. And he goes, "Why don't you come work at Applebee's?" I was like, "Well, why? I'm here next to my house," and easily, like, my house was like a mile and a half. He goes, "Well, just do something different." So I did. I went in there and started being a line cook. And probably within a year, maybe a year and a half, I was a certified corporate trainer for Applebee's. By the time I was 18 years old, I was the youngest certified corporate trainer, and I can't remember if it was Apple South or J South or whatever because they were all split up.
Yeah.
And so our location on Augusta Road was the training store. So they rolled out all the menus months before any of the other stores. Then we got them perfected, and then we'd send us. And then my store that I was in charge of was Greer. And then I would go out to Greer on the weekends and train them up.
Yeah.
And then it was like, and then at some point, high school was there, and I was like, this is kind of easy. I've already been doing this for 5 years. I'm already a corporate trainer. Like, they're already asking me to be a kitchen manager. I was like, I don't know if I want to be a 19-year-old kitchen manager. This is not where I see my culinary career going. And luckily enough, there was Johnson & Wales in Charleston. I applied. Got excited. I had to go down there and do an interview because of my grades. And academically weren't really up to par, based because it's tests, it's reading and writing, and that was what I wasn't good at. So I went down there and did an interview, and they accepted me on a probational period. And within the first 3 months, because we were on trimesters because of how the class schedule worked, and it was more conducive for the labs. And then I was on a dean's list, 4.0, within the first 3 months, and they were like, "Cool, you're good."
All right, I gotta ask you something. So, corporate trainer. You go to Applebee's, and Vinny, when you were at, Disney and all that other kind of stuff.
I did Applebee's too, actually. It's kind of funny.
It's so funny that, like, you go to those places and there's a spoon for everything, and there's nothing for guessing. You did it this way, and it was funny. Like in construction, it was the same way. Like, you can go to school and you can do all that school stuff, but there was such a disconnect. Like, I graduated Clemson in construction. And as soon as you got out, those guys were like, whatever you learned over there, let me show you how this goes. So Johnson & Wales or the University of Hard Knocks at Applebee's, where did you learn the most?
Both. I took away different things. And even then, after I left school, I took away different things. It was kind of like a a real period, then a school period, and then back to a real period. And I would say, like when I talk to younger individuals how they're starting, I get that question a lot. Like, is it worth going to school? I said, well, it depends on what you want out of your education. Because I went to I went to school with a lot of individuals who were like, this sucks. I'm not getting anything out of it. I was like, I'm getting a ton out of it. But I was also reading a lot of the material.
Yeah.
Like when they were like, hey, read, a Escoffier cookbook. I read through it and really understood the history of it. Or I would then pick up other books and start reading those and then getting it. Where everybody else is like, yeah, we're just going to go work at this restaurant party and then that's it. Like, you're not going to get anything out of it unless you like dig into the material that's telling you. I digress and go back. And so for like fast cafes and Applebee's are those kind of, what do they call those? We consider them like casual.
Like casual dining or
kind of casual. They're all in the same kind of
Yeah.
group. It set pace, and it taught you how to move your ass. Where you go into some places and there's no sense of urgency. Where this place, it's all sense of urgency because you're right. All the guesswork's been taken out of it. You're not there to interpret. You're not there to put your own spin on stuff. Those prep people in those kitchens portion and bag stuff 8 hours a day so the cooks can just open stuff up, microwave it, blast it, cook it. Like you're just there to just pace work. Just crush and go and do as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible. We're quite the opposite. Going through school was kind of whimsical. Because you're paying at that time a lot of money to go to culinary school, and it's about the deriving as much information from it as possible to take away.
And that was like you were telling. That's why I love like on Italian nights, like washing dishes, because like although you went to CIA and you did the school thing too and all that, Anthony Bourdain, CIA trained guy, but watching you on Italian night when it's just you, like Craig says, you have that pace. You have stuff measured out. You have a pace. You don't look up. I mean, and I guess that's what you're saying is that's what you learn from those kind of places.
The multitasking.
Yeah. They don't teach you that at school. And opposed to some people who go straight to culinary school and they come out in the kitchen, they're very hyper focused and blinders on one thing. It's like, no, I need you to be able to cook 5 different things at once. Yeah.
We often had that saying a lot of times, and like getting into the more professional kitchens, outside of that corporate, is that if you're not doing 5 things at once, you're not working.
You're not working.
We're not paying you to do one thing. We're paying you to do 5 things at every moment. Like if you don't have a sauce, a stock, 3 things roasting, and you're not, and then cutting something all at the same time, like you're not really working.
Yeah.
But then when you look at, I'm coming from like a television point of view, you look at some of these shows like The Bear, they're depicting some of these kitchens in like the super fine dining, but like, they have one person that's peeling oranges for the whole day. So it's true in that sense as well, right?
Usually that's usually people that do stuff like that, those are, I'm trying to think how to say it. Those are demenial positions to teach those individuals like the respect of the kitchen. Like you are not a chef. That is the highlight, that you are not a chef. You are here to carry out the obligations of this restaurant. And if you're going to pick strawberry seeds the whole day, because I've seen that, like someone with tweezers picking strawberry seeds out, so there's a perfectly de-seeded strawberry.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's to teach you, like, guess what? You are at the bottom.
I think that's my favorite thing, and me and Emmie talked about this before, because I never really worked in a restaurant, seen it or watched it. It's that close to being a cult. A kitchen is that close to being a cult. I mean, they will not, like tell on anyone else. I mean, it's like the mafia. I guess that's why we have you.
Yeah.
It's just kind of that thing. It is. It's like its own little world in that kitchen once you cross that line.
Sometimes I don't think I was ever that way, but I did have many friends, like, because I was in Charleston for 11 or 12 years. My goal at that time was I'm going to spend 1 or 2 years at each place and grab a bunch of experience and very much diversify it was always about diversity. Learning everything. Where I knew a lot of guys, they got to one kitchen and they stayed there for 8 years and they were done. I was like, how much do you think you were going to learn from that individual? And it's like, and I look back and ask me like, oh man, you can do this and this, because like, I don't know, I guess I used my time wisely. And I'm not saying they didn't do the bad thing. I mean, they showed an utmost loyalty, and that's great, you know, but like, I think they were also cheapening themselves with their own South education too.
So on the side of your hat it says chef. On the side of Vinny's hat it says chef.
Yeah.
So that word carries carries meaning. So what thing, like we
they're
were
the
talking,
same hats.
we have the same hats. At least Vinny's
Same
maybe a
place.
little. Vinny's maybe a little bigger, just because that head.
April
swells.
11th, be there.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Will you?
Yes.
So what kind of skill set? Like Vinny told me one time. Well, actually, it's funny. I was talking to Carl at Soby's one time, and he was saying, if I would have thought about it with Craig, I would have opened up a true butcher shop, because you had the skill of tearing down. Like, what skill does it for you to have the word chef? Besides knowing how to cook stuff and all that other kind of, are there some sort of skill sets that you're like, hey, if a giant fish showed up here, you know how to do it. You know how to debone. I mean, is there something that you could see another chef and you're like, I know he cooks, but he's not a chef. He doesn't.
Basically, what makes you a chef versus a line cook? When do you get that badge of honor?
Yeah, what is that? Is it a skill set? What is it?
Because a lot of kids, I feel like, they come out of school and think they're chefs, and not the case.
Yeah, there's an old saying, and I don't know if I agree with it, you're not chef until a chef calls you a chef.
Oh, yeah?
But then, there's some, where you see some of these, like the French Laundry is very known, like Thomas Keller goes around and calls everybody chef. Like he calls a dishwasher chef. Like, it's a well-respected position, but again, so that's a hard one to answer, because for a very long time, I mean, I'm talking about all the way up into the Lazy Goat days, I didn't allow anybody in my kitchen to refer to me as chef. So we're all in this together. Like, we're all making the food. And I'm not saying I was being ignorant, but I think there's also a humbling fact where I think, again, like talking about the culinary kids coming out of culinary school, they want that respect because they went to school.
Right now.
Yeah. And like, I think the humbling fact of it is that you can be a chef if you know you're truly a chef, and people will know you are a chef. Like still to this day, and I don't know about Vinny or other people, but like, I know there's a lot of people that would just refer to me as chef. And like, but I will be in the same room with those individuals and other chefs, and they don't refer to them as chef. So I don't know about me, what I do or how I present myself that makes those individuals go, that's chef. But what about those other people? Like, I don't know what that is. And I do, and I mean, if I had to break it down, yeah, I think there's definitely there's a certain list of proficiencies that you need to be able to do and obtain and do proficiently and well to then be comfortable with that title. And breaking down, I remember the first time I went to Soby, like the second day I was there, I came on as executive sous chef, or maybe sous chef, I don't even remember, it doesn't even matter either. They're ordering fish, so naturally coming from Charleston, I order a bunch of 10 and 12 pound whole groupers, and they come in the door and everybody freaks out.
What are you gonna do with it?
They're like, Craig, groupers here, but it's not cut or anything. I'm like, so I didn't get it. I totally had a befuddled moment of I didn't get what they didn't get. And what I realized is that none of these people in that entire kitchen knew how to cut a fish up. They got portions and they only knew how to go, that's 6 ounces.
Yeah.
I think there's a picture of me somewhere a long time ago. I'm working right next to Poppy. Like, I met Poppy, I was with him, he was still making little biscuits. He had nothing. Like, he was a biscuit guy. And I'm cutting up groupers, and everybody's like absolutely amazed to see a grouper cut. And I'm on the other side of it, like, how in the F you are in like one of the most
You don't know how to break down
spectacular
fish.
kitchens of Greenville in 2011, but nobody knows how to break down a fish. And I was mortified. And then I got into the second fish, and I had 12 of these line cooks sitting around me.
Seeing how to do it.
And at that time, again, it wasn't like it was just how it should be done. Like if you're, and so I think to be a chef, you need to, I guess there's a certain way to carry yourself, or know enough stuff, or
Is there a myth associated with being a chef? With all the celebrity chefs that are on television, I mean,
they're actually chefs.
Stereotypes.
That they're actually chefs. I think most of these people aren't picked because of their culinary prowess as much as their TV presence.
And you'd be at the cook station for a long time with that face. That face was made for radio.
And there are legitimate chefs, but I mean, I think there are a lot of these, and I think like Guy Fieri, he'll never tell you he's a chef, and I appreciate that about that guy. He's like, I can cook food, I love food, but he'll even say, he's like, I'm a great personality. He's like, I'm not a chef, and I appreciate him being honest about that. And I think there needs, like, we did the trivia the other day, and I always ask one question that's really cool. I love this question. It's like, name 3 OG chefs. And I'm not talking about Food Network. I'm talking about the progenitors of why we have culinary television the way that we have today. And I'm like, looking back at like PBS and stuff like that, like Graham Kerr, Jacques Pittman, Julia Child, the Galloping Gourmet, Ming Tsai, all these people. These are like before that. And then someone will be like, oh, we put down Martha Stewart. Like, Martha Stewart is the farthest thing from a chef anybody can ever be. Like, she is a home entertainer.
She's a home creator.
But that's the thing, is that people get this thing is like, if they see someone on TV, they must be a chef. And I don't think that's true. I think also too, like, I've worked with a lot of chefs who are amazing cooks, but also being a chef encompasses more. Like, are you you look at that kind of Venn diagram or whatever, and you're like, sure, you're a great cook, you have an understanding of cooking methods, seasonings, combinations, so forth. So you can write a good menu, but can you manage people? Can you teach someone how to correctly make that dish? Then you start getting into this, are you an absolute asshole? Or, because it's kind of like, do people quit jobs or they quit bosses kind of deal? And I think in the kitchens, that's a big one. Like, they just can't absolutely suffer those individuals. And if you can't do it, then you're not propagating a respectful environment that people are learning. And to the pressure that comes down to it, like, how do you mitigate that pressure from the customer to the cook, to the kitchen, to then the servers, back to the customer? And it's like, some people, again, there's some individuals I worked for who would be considered some of the best chefs in the United States, but I wouldn't consider. I think they're probably the best cook.
Yeah.
But they suck as a chef.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a long-winded, but I don't know. That's a hard one to just say, hey, this is a defense.
There's no black and white there.
No, I don't think there is, and I don't know if any could.
Yeah,
I agree with you. No, I kind of agree with you. Right.
That's a hard one just to say. Yeah, it's not black and white. But I would say it comes down to that proficiency of a certain amount of techniques to go. Can you make a risotto on the fly?
Well,
can you do a pasta dish? Can you cut that piece of beef or butcher a piece of pork or do that? And again, at that time, I was very proficient in butchery, like all across the board. Because what you find is that most chefs do. And now I'll be like, let's take out the rigmarole and be like, okay, these are chefs. Every chef's know how to sear and saute and make a sauce, and but then you find that a lot of chefs have secondary passions that they're very good at. I have a friend, Spencer, amazing on the side of being an amazing chef. He does amazing pastries and dessert work, like absolutely amazing. Adam Cook at Topsoil, who me and Adam opened up Topsoil. He's an amazing bread baker. He's good at a lot of stuff. But you find this, and then my kind of thing was, I really enjoyed butchering and making the charcuterie, like actually the sausages and pâtés and terrines and hams and stuff like that. And I gravitated towards that. But again, that's kind of neat when if you're very consciously putting together an incredibly well-rounded kitchen. Because then you want that chef who could do pastry, you want that chef who could do bread, you want that chef who could do this, and then you split all those cool things up, and you get more of that super high-end, all truly house-made stuff. And that's kind of the neat thing. Like Deborah's, the last 3 years I was at Deborah's, we had that. I did all the butchering. and everything. And so we were able to get the whole lambs and pigs and sides of beef, and we were truly that farm to table. And then Spencer, with the pastry chef, was able to do a lot of really great desserts and make those come to fruition. And I can't remember another, but he was really good at, like, he was making cheeses and stuff. Like, that was his thing. You know, so it was like really cool that we all had our, like, diversity, and that was also.
And I think that's so cool because, you know, with your health issues and things like that, you really trained, because you were such a great chef, into a great teacher. And, you know, you do that at the school, but also.
I think we're debating. So.
But you're learning. You're adequate. People like you. We're selling classes. But the other thing, too, is, you know, with that well-rounded thing, I don't think people really understand. You pretty much helped Kelly set up the knife program. You know, I don't know if that's from just butchering to knives. And, you know, the idea of, you know, making knives, knowing, you know, the people in the knife community and all that other kind of stuff. That's another one of your big passions, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've just always been a knife guy. I mean, that was.
Like a stabby knife guy?
A stabby knife guy?
Like a side-to-side kind of, like that kind of knife guy?
That's out of control.
I don't know. What do you do with your hammers?
Yeah. So, but anyway, I was going to just, but, you know, fly fishing, you know, another tie to knives. You're a big outdoorsman, another tie to knives. I mean.
But somehow almost all of your side projects and hobbies tie in to culinary in one way or another.
A lot of times, yes. So what I've ended up doing, like, I was actually driving over and I was thinking, like, every one of my little passions or hobbies kind of coincides with how I carry on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So, like, my passion for knives came from my grandfather giving my first pocket knife when I was like 5 years old. And teaching me how to sharpen knives. I was probably like 6 or 7 when he first showed a little piece of emery cloth on a little piece of block, and he's like, you know, doing that. But even that, you know, kind of rudimentary style. And then, of course, and then getting into culinary, you know, being able to respect your tools. Mm-hmm. And the tools are knives of the trade, because people are always kind of flabbergasted when I say, yeah, I got 200 or 300 knives. You're like, oh my God. It was like, I'm in the knife business.
Yeah,
and I've always been in the knife business, being a chef. Like, that's your tools. Like, how much are you going to trust someone who shows up like a carpenter, and they don't show up and they ask you for a table saw, you know, a hammer and, you know, a drill. It's like, you're not going to trust those people, you know, so.
This is my favorite thing. So this was my fighting knife when I was in the Marine Corps. And I
pulled that out of your shirt? Or was
no, I had it because I knew Craig was coming. Well, I lost the cover, the original sheath when I was in overseas, but the knife was just all ruined. But do you remember when you first came to the cook station, you got my knife back together? You actually sharpened. Yeah, you did. It was like your first week. I was telling you about, you know, it's a 40-year-old knife and all that other kind of stuff, and it was all rusted and it was dull and all that other kind of stuff. And you said, man, bring it to me. And you actually put that whole thing back together for me. And
I've done a couple. These are K-bars. These were issued for a long time. Still are.
Actually, not issued. You got to buy those things. They don't give you nothing.
They are issued. They are issued now. There's a issued, yeah. You can buy other ones, but because there's different units that are different. But
yeah,
so even back before when you were in K-bar or Sob was probably the big two. Gerber's now are big. Even before that, Randall Made out of Orlando is really big. Matter of fact, I just obtained a provenance Vietnam era, actually carried by a soldier, and tracking down the true provenance of that soldier here in South Carolina.
That's kind of cool.
But yeah, and this was a prolific knife, incredibly prolific knife, and it's still made somewhat in this pattern to this day. And they have a rubberized handle, but are still. I have more than a couple of individuals in the military, and that's.
Yeah, I remember when you fixed that thing for me. That was so cool. I always appreciated that because I was like so bummed that I was like, I let that thing just rot, and it was all full of,
The great thing about
it was chipped too, and I think it was chipped here. And I remember you fixed that. I don't know how you did that.
He's a magician.
He's a magician, but he's got my knife back together.
I've got myself to my life now, we go back and forth, but if I hop in my Jeep, I'm a Jeep guy because I drive the Jeep.
Yeah.
I'm a hunting and fishing guy, so all my stuff that I look at is like hunting and fishing, and then the fly fishing, and then I'm a knife guy because I carry a knife. You know, I love Zippos, you know, making fire. So, like, why not be a Zippo guy? Because you're going to make fire or light stoves. Like, people always ask me, are you a smoker? I was like, I don't smoke anymore. But I still carry a Zippo. I was like, because from years of being in kitchens, like, you always had a lighter on you to light the stoves. When you got too crusted up, you had to, so it's still something that carries in. So I think out of necessity, the things that I've become incredibly interested in and studied is because this is how I live my life, and these are the things that I use day to day. And I was like, why not make those the fun things that I have? Like, people, some people call it the ECD or everyday carry, and it's like everything that I carry on a daily basis is something I'm also very interested in.
So what you got on you now?
Pretty light. Pretty
light
today. Chris Reeves, classic. He's actually the guy who actually invented this lock. So this is I've had this for a very long time. This is probably one of my very first high end. Like the first time I spent over $400 on a.
That knife's $400.
5 or 6.
Holy crap!
Actually.
What makes it a $400 knife?
Well, I mean, at that time, it was this guy. I mean, when he developed this knife and Chris Reeves developed this knife, it was trend setting. This is a gold. This knife in particular is still a knife that people hold to a gold standard. And then I had it customized by a friend of mine. Let me see. So we got, again, pretty light today.
He's pretty light. He always got 4. There's a Zippo.
And because I'm not smoking anymore to stave it away. And then I usually carry a
Looks like he's going through TSA. Just empty your pockets. Put it in a bucket. I was talking knives. I didn't want you to do
peanut butter.
I was thinking knives. I didn't know that I was going to just shake you down.
And usually to this there would be a light, some sort of light, and then a money clip. I'm a big proponent of carrying cash. Like, not enough people carry at least $100. At least.
That's the other reason for the knife, man. You got to defend yourself when they go to rob you.
Like, how many times have people, gone and their card doesn't work or something happens, you got to call the bank. I was like, but you still need gas, you need lunch, you need something. Like, carry enough to get you from point A to point B. And then in my wallet, I always have a pen, card, stuff like that. But one thing I always carry, because most people know I'm a beardo, I always have this little tool so I can always comb a beard or hair out.
What's the notches on the bottom for?
The wrenches.
Ah, look at that.
So a little bit of wrenches and stuff like that.
You work on your face.
Yep.
Change the color. Do some light mechanic work.
And usually it kind of tore out a couple of weeks ago, but usually I keep a notepad for writing down notes. But yeah, usually on top of that, a money clip. And
that's a $400 knife.
That's probably $650.
That's crazy. How many do you lose?
How many have I lost?
Yeah, how many knives do you go through? Because I love knives, but I lose them all the time.
I don't know, maybe one in the last 15 years.
Really? I guess
I was misplaced mine. I find it like a year later.
So yeah, I mean,
like in your bag.
It's all
That was a gun.
titanium.
I took the knife out before that, though. That's the funny thing. Actually, the knife I had with me is actually the knife that Craig actually made for me. The little pocket knife he made for me one time.
So you got titles. You got chef. You got knife guy, and you're sharpening knives. You're still doing that, right?
Yep.
So you do all that kind of stuff. Fly fishing. What's the one thing? What's the one word that you want people to kind of remember? Label you as. Are you a chef, outdoors guy, a little bit of each?
I figured Mama called me Craig, so
Craig. Mama called me Craig. That's crazy.
I mean, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I want to be defined by my passions. I just want to know if people go, Craig was, if they look back, Craig kind of knew what he was doing with a lot of stuff. And, I mean, sometimes I enjoy being the person that people come to, and that's nice. I mean, being able to get a phone call, whether it's about fly fishing or tying a fly or cooking question or knives or woodworking. Like, I just helped my buddy build a table out of some black walnut that fell on his farm, and we built a tabletop, and it was cool to get back out in the shop and do some woodworking again, because I'm very passionate about woodworking. And I don't think there's enough reverence to one of my favorite movies of all time is Renaissance Man with Danny DeVito. You ever seen that movie?
I love Danny DeVito.
You know Renaissance Man? He goes and he's teaching the remedial soldiers about, Shakespeare and why is it so important. He talks about the Renaissance man, someone who's has a certain proficiency at enough things to get him along in his life. And I've always, I've never wanted to be a person who goes, I can't make it without this or that. If my radiator blows up in my Jeep, I can replace the radiator in an hour. And I can get back on the road and with even stuff like that and being able to do it. Yeah.
Well, man, that's what makes you. Time is up here, sir. But that's what makes you so valuable at the cook station. You do the knives, you do the classes. You're always ready to kind of, teach us a little something here and there. Man, I can't thank you enough for, getting us moving and all that other kind of stuff.
Absolutely. That was also for a long time. That was also a passion. Like I'd opened several restaurants in Charleston or revamped, and I loved at one point, like I always thought myself I was going to get into more consulting and restaurant consulting and building, and just things don't do that way. Maybe it's too much. Maybe there's a point where you go, all right,
Save some time for fishing.
But I've done, with the cook station, I've probably done about 10 kitchens, either revamps or full builds. And that was really cool because that's when you started putting your woodworking knowledge, like my woodworking knowledge. Like, yeah, I could hang FRP and I could put the sinks in or tap stuff. It was kind of nice to be able to do that. Plumbing, about all.
Now, leave paint. I don't want to have nothing to do with paint.
So, just through life and just taking those things that are in that small world. Like, I look at a microcosm and it's like my Jeep. But like, okay, I'm very passionate about my knives and my Zippos. I get dressed; those go in my pants, and I'm fishing, so my fishing tackle and stuff in the back of the Jeep. But like, I carry a full, because I'm very outdoorsy with the camp and stuff. I want to be able to do it at a moment's notice. So there's a cot, a pad, a pillow, all that stuff in the back there. I carry a grill with tongs. Fire starters, like I could go right now, I could leave right here and go to Table Rock and camp for the night and not need one thing.
And fillet fish.
And I want to be able to, I want to be able to do that. That's where, and I kind of think, and that's how I kind of organize it. Like, can I leave in a moment's notice and do exactly what I want, and have all the tools that make me happy?
So I have a question. You are such an incredible storyteller, an educator, truly. But a storyteller, where do you think that you found that quality? Was it from family or anyone specifically around you? But
probably experience mixed with goofiness and no filter.
So you're a bullshit artist.
Matthew McConaughey has one of my favorite lines of all time. His quote is doing this: "I hate a liar and I love nothing more than a bullshitter, because at least a bullshitter will give you a wink and a smile."
Are we gonna smile at the head?
No, I guess sure I am, but I think most of it's just, because I don't realize how many stories and situations that I've been in and compiled over the years that I think, or I find might be very helpful for other individuals. I think because it also comes back to you learn more from failures than successes, and I think being able to pass those on and failures or even situational awareness of things and going, hey, don't do this or do that, like I know because I've done it or didn't do it. So, and maybe
if you could pick one of your failures, what do you think was the most changed your thought process more moving forward in the culinary world? Like maybe in your younger days in Charleston, was there one that sticks out more than others?
I wouldn't say it's a failure. I would say it's more of a regret.
Yeah.
Is that I wish before I had Kat, I would have moved somewhere to get a little bit more under my belt in an area. Like I would have loved just totally out of this area. And I never really did that. Like go to Montreal for a year and work and just put your head down. Or maybe had gone to the French Laundry when I had a chance. Just a totally different area to gather experience, but also the mentality. Mm-hmm. You find yourselves, obviously, or hopefully, these days are a little different. But I feel that someone would be in a section of the United States because you all share the same mentality. Where I wanted to experience, and I had traveled a lot. I lived in San Diego for a while. I did live outside of Montreal because my grandmother was French Canadian. They had a house up there, and I was able to do that. But I wasn't able to do that in the kitchen. So the culinary aspect of that, I wanted, because I did get to travel so much and experience one side of it, I always wanted to experience the culinary side of it. I didn't do that. So I wouldn't have said it's a failure, but more of a regret. And then once I had Kat, it was like, full on adulting. Like there's no more,
Adulting.
give up those, give up those kind of things. Trying to think. I don't know, because I think because I've learned so much from those failures, like those aren't regrets either. Like I wouldn't take them back because I did learn so much from those things.
All right, I gotta ask you something. So,
What are you binge watching? Is that a question worth asking? What are you binge watching? You been watching anything?
Madison.
Madison?
The Madison.
Never heard of that. What is
It
it?
just came out. It's about so it starts out with Kurt Russell and his brother fly fishing.
Of course, fly fishing. Hooked you right there.
So, well, I was like, okay, here we are. Here's a Tyler Sheridan show about fly fishing. Was he going to mess up now? And I won't give it away. And then Michelle Pfeiffer's his wife, and it's kind of going through like it hit deeper for me in the first episode because it doesn't say it out loud, but for me, like when you watch it, it shows here's a man, and to clear the man, and then there's guys, and this is a man, and he was one. He had a life that he really wanted, and he had that. He had a little cabin next to his brother's cabin on this spread up in like Montana or something, fly fishing for years. And his humble little cabin with all of his stuff that he really wanted to be around. And then it'll flash to his New York City penthouse where his daughters and all of his wife lived, and he was there, and it wasn't the stuff he wanted. But, it's kind of funny because you have this eclectic cabin, but then you have this incredibly sterile house and penthouse. And it was like, he did that because that made his wife and his children happy. But that's not what he wanted. He wanted to be in his little cabin with his teacup, percolating coffee, on a fire, and that resonated really hard for me because I think for a lot of people it's true. Like the thing that you do because it's the right thing to do, but what you want is conflicting. And that's so the Madison.
The Madison. Some of these things Greg came up with is kind of cool. Like, what flavor do you hate?
Tarragon.
Tarragon? I wouldn't never even know what that was. Tarragon. Is that
Greg
really
likes that
used?
What's one spice you can't live without?
Yeah, that was the other one down here. What can you live without?
Spice? Coriander.
Really? I thought you were going to say bay leaves.
Bay leaves are herbs.
Oh.
Black pepper. So technically, then black pepper. Then black pepper or coriander is a spice, but bay leaves as an herb, and also rosemary and bay leaves for herbs.
Well, looking at Vinny's shirt, does kale have any relevance in cooking?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
We like kale?
We got on this prolific thing in the 80s and 90s about we're just going to buy cases, 35-pound cases of kale and put them on plates because someone thought they looked good. And it totally bastardized what kale should be. I think kale is an incredibly prolific, healthy, texturally rich food that is not capitalized on because we got so beat up with this just crap kale put on seafood plates back in the day.
See it on the buffets. It's all garnished with buffets.
It's like.
All right, I'm going to double down. Seaweed.
Love it.
Yeah.
Really? Seaweed?
Seaweed salad? Yeah.
Come on.
He's an Asian man.
Miso soup. I mean, the derivatives from kelp, but incredible.
All right. I'm going to have to rethink my.
Sounds learning stuff.
Yeah, kale and seaweed. Ugh, it just offends me as a fat man. It really does. It just offends me as a fat
Put
guy.
kale in your smoothie.
Yeah, oh, is that what
Sneak
it
it
is? Yeah. So, what flavors do you hate? We said the tarragon.
Yes.
What flavors do you like?
Tarragon and grapefruit are my hate. I can't at all.
So which one is just overused? We know what you hate. We know what you like. Which one is just overused?
Of the two?
No. Is there something that's just in everything and you're like, oh, geez, I can't like this?
Flavor wise?
No. Anything goes. The world's your oyster. I like this question. What's the greatest compliment you've ever received?
You're a good father.
Ah, bring it back to the pop. I love that. That's me too. It's funny. My favorite thing is my daughter calls me daddy. She's 21 years old.
Yeah.
Still daddy.
She calls me Uncle
Daddy.
Vinny. I don't know.
I know, you're Uncle Vinny. I don't know.
I guess I'm related to you.
It's funny because she does, Kat does have she works on it, but she does have a Southern accent. And one of those things that comes out is when she said, if she ever hears her say, she doesn't say daddy, she says daddy.
Well, cool deal. The last stupid question here, which I don't understand.
Right.
Bacon grease. Is there a reason to use bacon grease?
Absolutely. I mean, it was
Using everything?
it's prolific. I mean, you got to think about the history of it's prolific. I mean, for a long time, people didn't have access to I guess I call them cooking mediums, but like your oils and fats and stuff you cook in. Like for a long time, historically, especially here in the Western world, we didn't have a lot of oils. We didn't produce oils. We had lard and fat back and bacon grease and pork jowl and all this stuff. That's how you got. I mean, I remember still like talking to my grandfather because I have notebooks about talking about old Southern cuisine with the oldest generations I can find in my family, and they would raise 12 to 13 hogs, and it wasn't the same hog. They raised 3 or 4 of these hogs because they called them Midland hogs, and those were good for bacon. And then these were good for certain hogs, but they always raised one hog that was called a lard hog. And it was only produced to butcher that entire hog so you had enough fat to cook with for the rest of the year.
Cool.
Whether it was frying or making pie shells or whatever, but they would buy a certain sort of hog they called lard hogs, and it was so they had enough they could cook the whole year.
That's crazy.
And they would render it down in a day, and they would, it would be stuffed in jars the whole year, like jars and jars and jars and jars of all your, cooking fat for the rest of the year. But
All right,
bacon fat would be in that too.
I have one last question too. On your last question.
You ask away.
Is there one dish that stands out to you as something that you're most proud of or most memorable that you created? Like, could be something at a food festival, or just one dish in a restaurant, or something that you made at home for Kat.
I don't know I would have to think about the dish, but I had developed this. I wanted the perfect Southern vinaigrette, like a taste that embodied the South.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked on it for years, and so I was like, well, let's take the most iconic flavors in the South that are produced here in the South, and I wanted to make a vinaigrette, or it could be a marinade or a dressing or a sauce. And so I took apple cider vinegar,
Mm-hmm.
and I took apple cider from the mountains. I reduced that down all the way, like a gallon into like 1 cup. So it was this super concentrated apple cider that then I oiled with regular apple cider to make like this super potent apple cider vinegar. And then I got Georgia pecan oil, and then that was my emulsifier. And then it was like bay leaves and black peppercorns and stuff like that, and then made this vinaigrette with like pecan oil and like this super ramped up apple vinaigrette. And it was just like, when you taste it, you're just like, wow, this is, I feel like that was some South.
You have to talk to your daughter this weekend. She would say that it's when you have the open pantry meals. She was telling me, what do you call it? She's had a name. She goes,
clear out the fridge.
Clear out the fridge. She goes, because I asked her, I said, I'm going to talk to your dad this week. I said, what's your favorite thing your dad makes? She goes, oh, I love clear out the refrigerator day. That's when we have leftovers and everything. And he goes, my daddy just puts everything, and she just makes all this stuff out of anything we have in the refrigerator. It's clear out the refrigerator day.
We had clear out the refrigerator day yesterday.
Is that what it was? Maybe that's why I couldn't talk about it. What's the one sound that you just hate?
Beeping.
Really?
And
Beeping?
beeping and child screaming.
You know, Kelly, my wife cannot stand the sound of the bathroom exhaust fan. Like to that, I'm like, that's the most random, stupidest thing that you could not like. It's a fan. All right, what sound do you want?
Well, this is interesting because this goes back to Applebee's and Bats. Everything was on timers. Everything.
Oh, yeah?
Like so the refrigerator was open.
The fryers,
the fryer
everything.
beeped, the ovens beeped, the microwave beeped. So all day you might be working 8 hours, and all you
Nothing but beeps.
all day was beeping and sirens all day.
If we hate beeping, what do we love?
Silence.
Silence. That's the fisherman in you. That's the fly fisherman in you.
Silence, but I think honestly, like even yesterday, when I got home, I sat on my porch, I had a cigar and a beer, and just listened like all the birds out.
When you're in your car, do you drive with silence or music?
What, silence or music?
Silence or music. Like when you're
It
driving.
depends.
Mhm.
Sometimes for instance, like when I'm done with classes, I drive home in silence.
In silence.
I come in with music and I leave with silence.
Okay.
What would you like to do again, but you'll never do again?
Go on stage with Dropkick Murphys, maybe. That was a good one.
That was a fun one.
Me and Vinny were on stage, literally on stage next to Dropkick Murphys the entire show, and that was. I'm not saying that wouldn't happen, but I would definitely. I don't think it will, but I would definitely take you up that on.
I can make it happen again.
Man.
And probably the other one's rated R, or yeah.
A lot of that other stuff we really can't talk about here. What's your food weakness? What's your dirty little? I mean, Dunkin' Donuts.
Crystal burgers.
Crystal burgers?
Crystal burgers.
Really?
Oh my god. Crystal burgers and the chili cheese pups. Like my perfect meal, like I do it when I go to Michigan, and I know I stop and I get Bojangles in the morning with spicy chicken biscuits, and I have bow rounds. And later on the day, as we go like from Greenville to Kentucky, then there is Crystal burgers and chili cheese pups. And then when we end that drive that night, we always go to Skyline Chili for Skyline Chili. And that little drive, that's like it tears your butthole up. I mean,
I was supposed to say,
it's the worst thing ever. Like you're looking at the end of the night going, looking over like, next time tell me not to ever do that again. But
And you do it anyway?
And I do it anyway.
And you do it anyway?
I do that menu once a year on the drive, and that's it. But it probably ultimately comes down to either Skyline Chili or Crystal Burgers.
One thing you won't wear. Because you have the same.
The dress.
A dress? Oh, come on. If the money was right. Would you?
A white chef coat.
A white chef coat?
Not anymore.
I know.
I made my so I guess as of now probably like one of those things like I made myself a promise like I won't do white chef coats anymore. I just am done with it, like the mentality and pulling yourself away from that mentality of what I used to be, because I'm not. So white chef coats for me embody like what I used to be, and it's not what I am. This is a great book. I have it. It's called 50 Last Meals, and it's where the author has went around the world and interviewed chefs, and it's their recount of the last thing they would eat, drink, and if they wanted music, and who they would sit by. And some people are like the guy, I can't remember his name, but in from Little Washington literally says, I will sit in a field and drink a cup of chamomile. That's it. And then other ones are two paragraphs like, I want to sit with a bottle of Chateau Neuf de Pop, barbecue, my brother, and listen to blues music. You know, like it's cool, but I would say that one would be, I think that's a cool one. Like,
love that idea.
Absolute last meal.
So what's your answer?
Yeah, what's your last name? Yeah.
Mine?
Crystal burger.
No.
You want to worry about the after effects.
Probably like truth that my family historical Southern food, like chicken, rice, ham and lime with hoe cakes. Probably in there would be some sort of beef, you know. Yeah, something along those lines, like a full country spread, but what the particular end of the family did. And beer, I'd probably want a beer. Probably Guinness.
What would be yours?
Guinness.
What would be your last meal?
God, I don't know.
What would yours be?
That's a tough one, man. I don't know.
Oh, come on. Sitting there like a bump on the log this whole time.
Chicken milanese, come on. No, they're a good chicken parm sandwich.
A good chicken parm sandwich.
Semolina bread.
Although I have to say the best thing I've ever had as far as that, if I think about it, there used to be this fried bolognese sandwich in Philly at this place called Paisanos. And they made bolognese sauce. But what they would do is they would take a scoop on the ladle and they would put it on the flat top and it would just run everywhere until it got so solid. And they would keep scraping it up until it got so thick, and they put sharp provolone on it, and they would just scoop it into the bunch that was soaked all in. Speaking of that, like, talk about one thing that moves around in my head to this day is that fried bolognese sandwich from Paisanos in downtown Philly, on the in the Italian market, 9th and League Street.
What about yours?
Man, I hate to do this, but it's going to be chicken cutlet. I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's
just say meatballs.
No, but it was going to be meatball. I am just, and it was so funny, you know, just growing up, you know, my mom was known for it. It was so funny because my mom learned to cook meatballs, not from my dad's mom, but from this lady next door. And then, and it always kind of made my grandmother mad because my mom's meatballs were better than my grandmother's meatballs. And everyone told her that. And then finally, as life got older, my grandmother started kind of, conceding the fact that, so my mom learned by Miss Abruzio, who was next door. Miss Abruzio was like, she wasn't Calabrese. I don't think she was. She was like one of those Richie ones. And I think that's when my grandmother got mad. Yeah, but my mom's I love a meatball. And Kelly
I think mine would probably go like my grandmother in a recipe that my parents actually had like taken from my grandmother's recipe card and put on a cutting board for me that sits in my kitchen is my grandmother's chicken and dumplings, which was literally, my dad grew up on a farm. She'd go out, kill a chicken, and do all this stuff. And for me, I was like one of the only grandkids that learned how to make it like alongside of her. And there's pictures of me. I don't even think we had a rolling pin when we'd be on vacation or whatever. I'd use a glass cup and was 5 years old just learning how to do that. But it was such a treat for me to do it. But my dad's like, well, yeah, we were poor. We go to kill a chicken. It's flour and some Crisco and some carrots, and you can feed the whole family of 10. So it's funny, the things that you find special, but that were just kind of necessity.
Well, Southern cooking isn't that far from what we grew up with. You know, it was really, the reason Italians love beans is because they were just dirt cheap. We just ate beans, pasta, all that stuff was just, it was just poor people's kind of stuff. And now you go somewhere, I saw it on the menu one time, it was a lot of money.
What's that?
What would be your last meal?
My grandmother's peach ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
And
Solid.
It was just killer.
You know what?
I could eat the whole gallon.
You know what he makes that's great that I've never, was skirt steak? No, what is
Cube steak.
Oh my God, my wife loves going to his house.
I love a good cube steak. Gravy, mashed potatoes.
I'm getting hungry now.
Yeah, meat, just meat,
like, it's lunchtime.
bread, just like
You
there's
guys
nothing
food
good
in
with
place?
that. But,
All right, thank you guys for joining us today for our very first cooking at the cook station at home. We encourage you guys, if you have a specific question for our upcoming chefs, you can email us at askachef@thecookstation.com, and we'll try and get all your questions answered for next round. All right.
good job, guys. I really like that.